Ladies and gentlemen, to the WSSR Cup Series. It is Season 10 playoff racing at Texas. We had some complications with our live stream, so we're recording it. We're going to try to give you the rest of the race here. As for myself, Sam Dyer, I've got Richard Wolsifer with me, Robert Moyer Jr. Rain Productions in the background, and it has been only Larry Gingling up front. He got the pole. He's led a lap. He's gotten those 2 bonus points that are so critical, and we are closing in halfway through the stage. We're running 160 laps in total here tonight. Stage break at the end of lap 40. No fast repairs, 4 extra sets of tires. And Richard, it's been a lot of single file racing for most of this evening, but we're starting to see a little bit of movement happening back around 7th and 8th, but it's again been all Larry Yingling.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking to see. I was expecting a lot more movement from these drivers, but 40 laps is still a pretty long amount of racing. So they're probably just trying to survive this opening stage for the drivers. Because yeah, 10 bonus points might be nice, but if you're not one of the fastest cars out there trying to get that 10 points, it might be safer just to not worry about those 1 or 2 points you might get from getting 10th or 9th. And just worry about the end of the race, because that can be where your big point jump can be, is finishing in front of the other guys. So if you try to push yourself too hard and wreck yourself out of the race here in the stage, and your playoff continuation chances are kind of out the window. As we got a pass right now on the inside here. Number 74, Joshua Granada, getting passed by Nick Crawford for 5th position. So, and he's just going to get passed again by Chris Stitz.
Yeah, I was about to say, when you said wreck, we almost saw the wreck as Nick Crawford on the back coming off of turn 2 had such a big run, tried to make a crossover move, and there's Chris Stitz with a big slide by the 17. He keeps it together for himself there, but gonna lose more time and ground. Went from thinking about getting a pass to losing 2 more spots as Brian Johnson moves up. Jarek Tallmadge now trying to conquer on this pass on the outside, and should have the momentum and the run for the 27 SpongeBob machine, but not able to fully clear just yet, but down into turn number 1. It's a much better chance for the outside groove to try to go for this pass as he throttles up his Talmadge, and he'll complete the pass and Stitz. I mean, that is frustrating, Richard. You go from, I'm going to capitalize on a mistake by Joshua Kanata to I made the mistake that cost me more.
Yeah, that is unfortunate to see for Christopher Stitz, but he's also not a driver in the playoff chances, and you can tell the playoff drivers on the track by the red name banner on the windshield. So if you don't recognize a car, but you want to know who is in the playoffs, just look for that red banner on the windshield. But it's good to see drivers out here like Chris Stitz. They're still out here racing. They're here to race. They're a racer like all these other guys, and they're here to win the race as well. So as long as they can be respectful enough around these playoff drivers, I think they'll still make some friends. But we got Gavin Rogers up here making moves and making his way through the field as well.
Yeah, Gavin Rogers, also the Hello Kitty machine. That's going to be Vincent Sora, Both these drivers up 10 positions from where they qualified both outside of the top 20, and Vincent Sora is just outside of that top 10 as well. We're starting to see a battle for the lead because it's going to be James Scioli finally poking the nose under the 67 for the first time tonight. We're finally seeing a battle for the lead.
James Scioli making the move on the inside. He wants to lead a lap. He wants to win this stage. He wants those points, and they are still side by side as they come out of turn 4, and it looks like Scioli might have the run, and he will potentially, yes, he will lead that lap, and there's a bonus point for James Scioli.
If it ended there, it was by 1/1000th of a second. Give it to Scioli getting that bonus point, and that's critical for Scioli just to capitalize a little bit more on comfortability and confidence-wise. Because Scioli, if he wins, that takes away that automatic lock-in from another playoff driver. Scioli won last week. That is, one of those feelings where you're free to do whatever you want. You can race as aggressively as you want. You can try to stop one of your other playoff contenders. But the 77 is putting it all on the line here in stage 1.
Yeah, Scioli wants to make sure he doesn't have to rely on points if something happens to him. And really, I mean, it's just a lock-in for round 2. He won't be locked in past that. He'll have to win another race, but that will take away another spot from a driver trying to get in on points. But the biggest thing is if a driver that is worried about points, that doesn't really have a realistic chance in point-wise, if they win, that knocks out one of your top 4 drivers that are in on points. So it's a very interesting situation, but Scioli is definitely wanting that win and wanting those bonus points, because those bonus points will help carry over and give him a better cushion for the second round of the playoffs.
We also saw there on the front stretch a little bit of a hiccup by Drew Jua. He grazed the grass, had to slow up because of it, and it gave a chance for Nick Crawford to make that pass for third place. Nick Crawford, winner of this race back in season 8, as he won that based off of fuel mileage strategy call. The 74 is looking quick based off of just raw pace, long run. Crawford, one of the fastest drivers out there on track as he is closing in on our top 2. Drew Jua, though, he looks to be seeing handling issues as this run progresses on, and he was that first driver that was really trying to catch up to our top 2. And Richard, it's looking like the tires, the heat, the wear, it's starting to show on the 88.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to show, losing some pace to those front-running drivers. I think he's got something to kind of think about and work on coming into the second stage or the final stage of racing, because that's going to be the long one. That's where green flag pit stops are going to matter. They have a fuel load that's going to last about 65 to 67 laps. That's the fuel window for these drivers in the second stage. Right now in the first stage, it's just an all-out sprint to the finish, but it's still long enough where tire wear does matter, and we're seeing that on Drew Jua as he's still losing positions. So he's got a lot to think about when we start this race again after the stage break.
As seen here, Cody Reed, he is currently 10th on the board. Last driver gets stage bonus points, and Cody came in the first driver outside of the cut line. Driver he was trying to catch up to Cedric Hunter and also Jared Talmadge, that both were tied in points, just 2 points ahead of this 25. And really, if Cody can find a way to get this 10th place finish or even further up ahead, that can put him in a better shot to catch up to the likes of Cedric Hunter as Jared Talmadge runs 6th currently. But that's not the driver you want to see behind you if you're this 25. There's Vincent Sora, who's been a thorn in the side of this 25 in many a different series and leagues, and once again could be losing out on some crucial stage bonus points if you're this 25. But Ryan Kelly ahead of him, bigger issues. The 3, bad exit at turn 4, now going to be side by side with the likes of the 25, and with that squeezing move, it hurts Reed and give the call to Sora off the exit of turn number 2.
Sora taking advantage of the cars getting into each other's doors. Sora passing Cody Reed. Is not what Reed wants to see. It's not what he wants to happen either. So he's got some ground to make back up. But Sora on the move, going to make a move on Ryan Kelly as well to take that position. So he's going to get a 2-for-1 pass due to that small mistake by both drivers.
It's Vincent Sora just trying to make those way forward as efficiently as he can. And he'll take a 2-for-1 after the mistake by Cody Reed, as well as the mistake by Ryan Kelly. It's just a chance for the 51 to continue his way forward and feel a lot more comfortable. Only 8-point advantage entering tonight, which is not the usual zone of points that we would see for the likes of Vincent Sora into a round. So for this 51, you'll love to see him slowly marching his way forward, and one of our biggest movers so far, up 13 positions from where he started and trying to continue on that march, now up to 14 after that pass on Chris Stitz. Other drivers of note, John Forbes, he is still 1 lap down, but luckily he's the first driver 1 lap down. So if we have a caution and the 11's not involved, he would get that lucky dog spot, which would help John Forbes get back into the fight that he really needs. Other drivers that need to start moving forward, here's the 2 of Danny Cochran, who entered tonight 16th in points, last of all the playoff contenders. He was down 12 points to Jared Talmadge and Cedric Hunter, and with Danny Cochran running all the way back in 24th, his hopes of running for the continuation of this championship run, they're not looking too great, at least in the first 34 laps. There's still plenty of racing action, though, that could change things here.
Yeah, Danny Cochran definitely has a huge mountain to climb, being the last driver in the playoffs currently. But I mean, he's definitely excited to have that red banner on his car. He's definitely excited to be in contention for this championship. Talking to him prior, he's had a few interviews with him, and he said he was just excited to be in the position he was. You know, he shouldn't have been there. That was his words himself. So it's good to see him up here trying to run still for this championship, but he's definitely got a lot of positions he's got to make up and a lot of people he's got to pass for that chance to move on.
Absolutely. I know for Danny, this is probably one of his best regular seasons that he's ever had in the WSSR, and he can take and kind of tip his cap at himself for that type of performance. Playoffs haven't looked as stout currently, and again, hoping for a big swing if possible, as seeing some other battles that are happening inside of our top 10. Here's going to be Brian Johnson as well as Drew Jua. The battle for 4th is back on, as Drew Jua trying not to lose this position to the likes of the 28, but I mean, if you're Drew, you were 6 points back from Cedric Hunter as well as Jared Talmadge. You don't want to lose any advantage that you could have had to minimize that gap moving forward, but loses that spot to the 28, and now has to be careful because in his mirrors, yes, we only have 4 laps to go, but Vincent Sora is on the charge.
And Vincent Sora on the charge, and Drew Jua, man, it just a very unfortunate event last week at Watkins Glen. He got kind of pushed off into one of the turns, and then he just disconnected from it. So I wasn't sure if it was a situation with his equipment or he just called it a night, but it kind of put him in a position he really doesn't want to be in. It looks like he tags the wall a little bit there. But yeah, we're riding back here with your Drew, and he's definitely got a lot of ground to make up and a lot of points to still maintain. But Vincent Sora is knocking on that bumper and trying to make the pass, but Drew's doing everything he can to hold on to that car for the rest of this stage.
As we continue to march down these laps, single file for the majority of this, but Vincent Sora's finally caught up to that 88 machine. He'll ship it down to the inside. That's the run. That's the position that you want to run here at Texas in 3 and 4. Staying close to that white line to carry as much momentum on the straightaway to set up a turn into turn 1. And it has been awesome to see Vincent Sora just march his way. I mean, he started only back in 22nd position and is now all the way up to 5th, and might, by the end of this run, could be in our top 3 with how quick he has been looking. But there is some madness happening for some of those last bonus points on the line. 10th place, Cody Reed has got a hornet's nest behind him as the 25 was able to get back into the top 10, but can he hold off the hard charging of Chris Stitt, Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter with this final lap? 1 point is on the line for the 25.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't want to lose that position as Zach Hall is starting to look to the inside of him. He will have the momentum on the inside. Cody Reed does not want to see that point slip away, but Hall, he is wanting that point as well to stop Cody Reed from having any chance of moving on. And it looks like Hall will be able to potentially make this pass. Let's see if Reed has the momentum on the outside. They are side by side, but no, the stage is over, and Reed into the wall.
Oh, as James Scioli crosses the line, the caution flag came out, but Reed, tapped by Hall, sent to the wall, and Cody's not going to be happy about that. Getting a little bit of extra damage and didn't get the bonus point. That's just a double negative that doesn't turn into a positive. And Cody has to now, just based off of true points, has to try to find a way to get by these drivers. But that is the stage, Richard, and it's James Scioli taking the stage win.
Yeah, great run from James Scioli, being able to pass Larry Engling and maintain that front run, and he did a great job. We'll take those 10 bonus points into the playoffs even further, and we'll just see. It's going to be a slugfest for the rest of these playoffs for those top runners.
It certainly will be, as the 77 started in 3rd, made his march forward, was the first driver to get by Larry Yingling in those after lap 23, and never looked back. He continued to grow. So the rest of the field, first pit stop of the night. Going to be seeing Vincent Sora, one of the first to get into pit road. You do not want to make a mistake here. Saw that, track position can be critical, but man, now those long runs, Richard, a lot of drivers looked quick there. They were able to really regain a lot of positions for some of the crew.
Yeah, a lot of the drivers, they were able to just save their tires, not really push the car early. They saved that resource for later in the run, as we saw like Vincent Sora just kind of marching his way through the field. And then you saw it in Drew Jua, who kind of used those tires up a little more than expected, and he fell back from his second place starting position. So just unfortunate to see, but that's just the skill. You can see the skill difference between some of these drivers who might have put the practice in and who didn't, or who just knows how to save their tires a little bit better.
As these drivers are getting stacked up, the pace car waiting to get that one to go. We'll see if we can try to queue up our stage winner of James Scioli, because man, as he looked good here tonight, as he got the lead and going to try to continue with it as we pull up the 77 machine of James Scioli. James, it's Sam and Richard up in the booth. Congratulations on the stage win. Man, how are you feeling? How's this car feeling so far?
Feeling good. I like how it drives. Pretty loose on exits, so people are struggling, which I kind of like. I've always liked trying to save the rears, so definitely meshing well with it. Glad to get that stage win. I'm gonna miss Vegas in the next round, so I'm really just trying to stack up as many points as I can, hoping to have a good New Hampshire and being able to make it to the final round. So.
Yeah, missing a race in the playoffs, that's definitely something to worry about. So I can understand getting as many points as you can before then, but that win last week at at Watkins Glen. I mean, that locked you into the next round, so you're just trying to get points in. But does that carry over your momentum into this? Or is that why you're racing so well tonight?
I think it definitely helps. It's always good to be racing up front. Gives you some confidence. So that first stage definitely gave me a lot of confidence, especially towards the end there, just kind of pulling away from the pack. So hoping I can kind of do the same thing. Just save my tires good enough here. Just run my own pace that I want to run, and hopefully we can, after about 20-25, start checking out and just kind of doing the same thing. Hopefully we go green here. We can make it on one stop. So hopefully we just get a nice long run to the end and can finish this thing natural and see how it plays out.
Can't wait to see how it does. James, again, congratulations on your stage win. Enjoy it, and good luck on the rest of this race.
Thanks, guys.
That will be the Lucky Ducks Motorsports driver of James Scioli, your stage winner here tonight for the round of 16 cutoff race at Texas. As your drivers up front, it's going to be James Scioli, Nick Crawford. Crawford able to get a great launch out of pit road, able to get ahead of Larry Yingling, which Yingling will now be challenged by Vincent Sora. Got Brian Johnson, Drew Jewell, Ryan Kelly, as well as Jared Thomas, Joshua Kanata, and Zach Hall, your top 10. Pace car pulls off into pit road. How clean can we keep it to the end? Or will we have a quick caution? Time to find out. As green flag's out of the air, it's James Scioli by a mile, already about a car length and a half ahead of everyone else down into turn number 1. Richard, what a restart by that 77.
A launch from the heavens for James Scioli, and that's what he wants to do, get out front as far as he can, to have as little pressure behind him as everyone else behind him is scuffling, trying to get position and get to that outside line to maintain their speed. But James Scioli looks like he's just sailing into the sunset almost, and his pace is still maintaining. Great run from him to lead the first lap of this second stage for the rest of this race.
Seeing our front 2 in line, now making our top 5 as everyone gets single filed out. And this is what we saw a lot in those first about 6 to about 8 laps of this race when it first initially started. A lot of drivers were getting single filed out in our top 10, and then it was after about 10-15 laps we started seeing drivers really push for passes. We're deeper in the field though. You need to make moves now, and that's what we're seeing right now. It's the 75 of Gavin Rogers trying to rip the top and making as many big moves as possible, because Gavin Rogers, that pass was for 12th place. He's still got a large margin if he wants the challenge for the win up front.
And he is running as close as he can to Chris Stitz to cut off that run from him, but huge moves from Gavin. He actually got a little loose a few laps ago, or about a lap or so ago, as he was kind of 3 wide, but he is making massive moves. He's got a point to prove after his mistake from last week at the Glen, and he is showing he is here to race at Texas.
As you're seeing behind Gavin Rogers, that's Chris Stitz, as well as Douglas Newbigging, Ollie Fonseca going back and forth. Ollie with the big send in that Ohio State's machine, trying to get the run to move forward. And with these fresh tires, why not rip the top? As the 24 and the 17 get close, a little bit of a bump. Might as well hope that you push that driver forward. But right now, Ollie's just saying, I'm going to sail through the top and see how many passes I can make. Now, we saw in that first stage how this is going to hurt the 24 later on in the run, but man, does it feel rewarding in those first about 5 to 10 laps when you're able to make these big moves on the outside.
You know, I think I used to do moves like that also when I first started out in league racing, and I think someone used to say it's like Superman right now. You feel like you're doing really well, making the passes left and right, and just feel like you're on rails, but those tires are going to be very, very angry at him very quickly. So he might be making the passes now, but later in the race, you know, give it about 5 to 10 laps, those cars that he's been passing will slowly move their way back up and get around him again. So Ollie's just out there having fun and making some passes where he can, but it's really awesome to see when a car can make a pass on the outside that quickly.
Here's some of the drivers further on back, looking back from Andrew Medley, who runs 25th currently. You got Justin Malarkey, Dakota Moniz, Christopher Wade, Ryan Ferraro, and Ben Kinney going to be those drivers further on back. I do want to give a report. Talked about Lucky Dog driver was going to be most likely John Forbes. It did go to the 11. And with all the passes and moves early on, John Forbes already up to 20th position, that 11 machine. He's going to be the next driver on the note of watch out as he tries to carve his way through this field.
Yeah, great run from him after getting that lucky dog to get back on the lead lap. So he is definitely on the move right now. But again, who knows if that's utilizing tires, the drivers around him are just trying to save better. But he's doing a great job being really fast and, you know, just great recovery from him, just kind of being patient, getting that lucky dog to stay on this lead lap race. And you got Cody Reed right there behind him as well.
Yeah, Cody Reed having his woes in pit road again. When the time of that stage yellow came out, got forced into the outside wall. Cody had over a minute of repairs that he had to get repaired for himself to feel comfortable to even race with competition around him. And speaking about competition, he's got playoff drivers around him with Shane Terrian in the 9, the 11 of John Forbes, 19th, 20th, and 21st. This is not where you usually see the 9 or even the 11 usually. Do want to give note, if we didn't give this earlier, John Forbes did start in pit road for this race. That's what put him a lap down during our first stage. Why he got the lucky dog, and now he's on the charge going forward, as John Forbes did qualify up in 4th place to start this race off, but having that penalty did hurt the 11. But Shane Terrian, I talked to this 9 machine before this race. He felt very confident. Felt like this track, he could really show some good pace. He's shown it in the past here at Texas, but it is not showing currently. Being stuck back in 21st position when he's one of those outside drivers looking in points. Richard, this has got to be feeling slightly demoralizing for the 9, who's been quick at almost every race we go to.
Yeah, Shane Terrian is definitely a very, very quick driver. It's really odd seeing him this far back and even falling more. So I don't know if he's just saving tires extremely or what he's doing, but he's well off the pace. So I mean, when you're that far back,
it's gonna be Ollie Fonseca as well as Drew Drew get involved, and more drivers piling in. It's the big one off of 2. Oh no, playoff implications. Multiple drivers involved in this one, and the big one strikes. Danny's involved, Ollie involved. I mean, Cody's involved there, and I believe as well. And oh my goodness, Richard, in a blink of an eye, just like that, front runners that were battling inside of the top 10 wreck from about 10th on back.
Huge wreck, as we were talking about Shane Terrian there, and a lot of playoff drivers involved with that. As we watch the replay, Ollie Fonseca just gets loose. Looks like he got into the door a little bit of Drew Drua, and it wasn't even him in the wreck. It was everybody behind him checking up and just running into the bumpers. So, but Ollie Fonseca looks like the original start of what transpired there.
Oh my goodness, Richard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers required damage. Brian Noel, Ross Tatum, Tom Sinchek, Cody Reed, Ryan Ferraro, and Douglas Newbigging, all with required damage flags. They're going to pit road, and here's the reason why. It's just everyone piling in, and the one driver, I'm confused on how he didn't get required damage. John Forbes sneaks through with all the calamity. He was stuck in the middle of all that.
John Forbes finding his way through that, not getting any required damage. Will still probably have a little bit to do, but Cody Reed, required damage, that is not something he wanted to see when he's on the outside looking in. Sam, your pick? It's not looking too well for him tonight.
No, there's Ken Campbell into Douglas Newbigging, and Cody gets forced to the outside, and there's Brian Noel into Ross Tatum. He gets shipped to the inside. Forbes gets lifted into up off the ground. See also the 9 involved. I mean, that is multiple different playoff contenders involved in this incident. Majority of those with required damage are those that are not in the playoffs, but Ryan Ferraro has already left the server. He's done for the evening, and I'm expecting a few more to join after that. Looking at the drivers that just entered pit road and spent extra time to get damage repaired, 15th on back. Half the field all have damage repair they have to get fixed.
Man, I would not expect a big one here at Texas, but that is what we just saw. Cars going every which way on the track. The drivers, it was hard for them to decide which way to go, because not only were they going up and down, eventually they bounced off where they were going and went back the other way. So it was a very, very violent crash for everyone. And man, that is a ton of cars. And like you said, I think we will see probably more cars call it a night after that one. But if it's drivers like Cody Reed and Danny Cochran, they have to get that damage repaired and hope other drivers have a bad night.
Cody Reed still has required damage. That has not been removed. Danny Cochran in the 2, he has left the server. Danny's playoff hopes are done, most likely for himself. Ross Tatum has just left the server. And looking at some of the other playoff contenders, I mean, John Forbes, I still don't. I mean, this has been John Forbes' MO, and this has been a frustrating thing for people that run on Monday nights in the ISRC. They feel like John might get involved in wrecks, but he gets out of it cleanly more than not. There's only been maybe a handful of times that I've seen John get into a wreck and he's officially out of it. He usually somehow sneaks out, and the 11 could be a sneaky one to watch out for later on in this race if we can get all that damage repaired. But looking at this field, interesting note, about 7 drivers, deciding to stay out and not come into pit road to get tires and fuel. Larry Yingling, James Scioli, Vincent Sora, Brian P. Johnson, Jared Talmadge, as well as Ryan Kelly, and also going to be Drew Jua, deciding to stay out and not come to pit road. Everyone else from 8th on back got damage repaired, or they took tires and fuel. So we got some off strategy to watch out for here as pace car about to pull off into pit road. The big one strikes. Are there any more to see, as it is time for these drivers to go green at Texas? Playoff implications have happened. How many more will we see this evening as we are green and Larry Yingling takes us down into turn number 1? Richard, hold your breath. Here we go again.
All right, back under green for the excitement here at Texas. They say everything's bigger in Texas, and apparently the wrecks are about that as well. But the drivers back under green, back to racing. And a lot of drivers have even bigger mountains to climb after that massive wreck. But Tom Sinchek, also another driver that has left. He's called it a night as well. But man, these drivers, after that big wreck, they are still wanting to race side by side and make the moves where they can. But Larry Yingling back in front and leading this race.
Leading this race, but again, the drivers of note to watch out for. It's going to be Nick Crawford, Gavin Rogers. They're the 2 that took tires. They're going to be the ones that are going to be trying to make the big moves here as we go on. Gavin Rogers giving a big bump to the 3 machine of Brian Kelly, and there they are in tandem going into turn number 3. As well as driver to watch out for is Joshua Kanata, who's in the mixture of fresh rubber. And with the closing rate, it is around 14 laps difference on tires. It's around 12 of green flag runs. Richard, that's a pretty big jump up that these drivers are going to deal with on speed difference. And I think once these tires get heated up, it's going to get more and more dangerous. And speaking about dangerous, Drew Jua almost had some deja vu with Gavin Rogers to his outside.
Layer 3 wide. He's got Gavin Rogers, or not, now it's Nick Crawford that's outside. He's going to back off. He's going to make the smart move. But man, with these tires, when they wear out right now, they feel great, but these tires will wear out quicker than these drivers think, and that's where they will start to lose grip again. Like Scioli was saying in the interview, that gets really loose on the turn exit. So when these tires get older and older, that exit's going to be more sketchy and sketchy. And if you're side by side, that's where the issues can definitely happen and transpire for more wrecks.
Seeing the 88 machine and the 24. Hey, they're back to being side by side, but Ollie Fonseca with fresher rubber able to make the pass by Drew Jua, hopefully here, as they're getting close to the same spot that they had issues that brought out our caution. As up front is still Joshua Kanata leading the drivers with fresh rubber, as well as Gavin Rogers. They're the 2 that are trying to make the big move forward. Out on board with 1 is Zach Hall back in 13th position, and we've seen some of the competition being wiped out with Danny Cochran, Cody Reed, both out of this race. That takes away some of that competition you're worried about. Still have to watch out for Shane Terry and Ken Campbell and Drew Jua, especially for Shane and Ken Campbell. What speed will they have with the damage that they collected on that last incident? It's going to be the true question for the rest of the evening. But if you're Drew Jua, you have a very good chance to fight for a playoff position and move on to the next round.
And I think if any driver can do it on points, it's definitely going to be Drew Jua. I mean, he's got James Scioli as a teammate, so they've got to be sharing some ideas on how to drive the track just a little bit more conservative to help Drew Jua maintain that longer run speed. But Drew Jua definitely looking to point into his playoff round 2 chances. But a lot of playoff drivers, you know, they're not in it anymore because of that massive wreck. They're just going to try to ride around and hope other drivers have a worse day than they have. But it's good to see them trying to trying to get back out that race, try to get their points, and maybe hope for a miracle.
More aggressive drivers so far in the first half of this race has been the 24 Apollo Fonseca. He's going to be aggressive here, trying to get by Jared Talmadge. Talmadge, another one of those Cinderella stories, won the last race of the regular season at Daytona that placed them into the playoffs. He entered tonight tied at the cutoff line with Cedric Hunter. Was able to get some decent stage bonus points, runs in 10th, at 27, trying to see that Cinderella story continue on. As we fall back to some of the drivers outside of our top 15, we hop on board with Dakota Moniz, and he's going to be squished in between some playoff drivers. He's got Drew Jua ahead of him in 17th, Shane Terrian behind him, and those are odd spots to see, but Drew Jua on those older tires, he's been the first one to really fall off, and I think that's no surprise. We've seen the 88 be the one that's been a lot more aggressive on the tires. He's struggled the most on the long run.
Yeah, being down 15 positions right now is not something he wants to see, but you know, he's got to figure something out. He's got to figure out how to save those tires for those longer runs. But being one of those drivers that's on those 24-lap old tires, it's kind of expected. A lot of those drivers running faster because they have the newer tires. So he's just gotta find his groove right now, figure out where he can go a little bit slower but still maintain some pace. But still a long race ahead of him, still some chances to move up and still lock his place into the playoffs. But Gavin Rogers doing a wonderful job on those new tires, moving up right now and getting ready to challenge Larry Yingling for the lead. A great decision to come in for tires from Gavin with a lot of the other field, but he's about to challenge Larry and take the pass for the lead here in the next couple laps, I see.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking inevitable either this lap or the next for either Gavin Rogers or someone behind. Speaking about behind, you got Vincent Sora looking a little spooked as Gavin Rogers gets the run out of 2. He'll ship it to the inside into turn number 3 with the better positioning. Gavin Rogers trying to make the pass now as Yingling doesn't put too much pressure in. I think for Kanata, he was hoping to see those front numbers up front stay side by side for longer. That could give him a chance to battle for the lead, but instead catches Yingling in a bad spot, and it hurts him down into 1. And now Nick Crawford takes that opportunity to battle for 3rd.
Yeah, Nick Crawford shipping it down into Kanata. They're going to be side by side coming out of the turn, and that's something Vincent Sora wants to see because that's going to give him a chance to close in the gap as well. But they're going to fall back in line. Kanata going to make sure he doesn't lose that position from Crawford. But Gavin Rogers able to maintain that lead, and now it looks like he's going to kind of reduce his pace a little to save some tires. But Kanata looking underneath Larry Yingling now. He's going to make the pass for 2nd.
And Joshua Kanata, fresher tires, expected to make this pass at some point. It's just been a lot more difficult than he would like. Also want to give kudos to Yingling, Sora. They're still staying up front with those older tires. Same for Brian Johnson. Inside of the top 10 still. Majority of the other drivers that decide to stay out on the older rubber, they're falling back. The reason why, you might be wondering, why would those drivers not pit? Reason why they want to have that extra set of tires later, and also everyone that's on track still needs to make one more pit stop before this race is over to make it to the end. Both strategies were gonna be good to make it into a one stop, so keeping track position felt like the better choice for those that stayed out. But with the fact that so many drivers were involved with that wreck, it kind of spaces the field out. And Richard, I gotta say, those that pitted and took tires, I'm loving their strategy a lot more because it puts them in a stronger position to have a better strategy later on in this race.
Oh, it definitely does. And honestly, what they can do is they can even pit with these drivers that didn't pit to take fuel and tires that put them in better positions to make these strategy calls. And, you know, it could make the difference of who's going to win this race or not, as Joshua Kanata passes Gavin Rogers for the win just now. And, you know, Sam, looking back here, one of our playoff drivers decided to call a night. Cody Reed, his playoff chances to continue up in dust.
Yeah, that is all drivers that got required damage. They are calling it a night. That's Brian Noel, Danny Cochran, Douglas Newbigin, Ryan Ferraro, our playoff contender of Cody Reed, and Danny Cochran both officially out of this race, as well as Tom Sinchek and Ross Tatum. So watching the battling going on between Samuel Garcia as well as Chris Stitz as these drivers go back and forth on who's going to have 12th position. That's the 50 machine. Talk about a fantastic run this past Monday in the ISRC Truck Series. The start of a brand new season as they had season 8 at Daytona, and Garcia got his first top 5 in the Truck Series. Trying to carry that momentum, and I gotta say, Garcia's been a fun driver to watch this season. I've been watching him grow in that Truck Series on Monday nights, seeing him also grow here in the Cup Series, and seeing, you know, different tracks that we go to. It's a lot more of the bigger tracks where he shows better speed. Awesome to see Garcia inside of our top 15. Even with all the drivers that are knocked out, this 50 has shown consistent growth, which has been fun to watch.
Yeah, he has definitely improved throughout this season, and it has been a wonderful thing to watch. You love seeing drivers jump in, They start off not that strong, but then you see the improvements they have made and how better they are able to drive and compete with some of these faster drivers. So Garcia doing a wonderful job tonight and trying to show what he can potentially have for future seasons to come.
See that camera shot of drivers on the back stretch. The majority of them single filed out. We're in that mid zone. We're about 5 laps away from those that protected their tires and be able to really push forward. Those that were being too aggressive start to fall back. And this was that fun part to watch in those final 15 laps of the stage before these drivers really started to make calamity happen. One driver, though, like ridiculously off pace. That's John Forbes Jr. And John, again, he did not have a perfect run in the stage because he was 1 lap down, didn't get any stage bonus points, didn't lead a lap, and now so off the pace, he runs only back in 22nd position, and he's so far off the pace, he could be passed by Ben Keeney in the next, if this run continues on. John could fall to 23rd, which this could be knocking out the 11 from this round of the playoffs, and his championship hopes could be done and dusted.
And he can't give up just yet either, because again, we still have a lot of racing to go, and still other drivers can have big moments that kind of mess up their race. So John Forbes is just out there. He has to stay on track. He has to try and get points where they can come from. But yeah, John Forbes, not the run he was hoping for tonight, and he's hoping that his playoff chances are not diminished as he's just kind of running around and just trying to get laps in.
Trying to get laps in, but the big thing for John Forbes that he's got to be happy about, Cody Reed's out of this race, Danny Cochran's out of this race. So those are 2 of the 5 contenders that he was worried about that are out. Shane Terrian also has been off pace because he was also involved in that wreck. Ken Campbell runs 10th, but he's not showing as incredible pace as some of the other front runners. But the 15, he's on the right strategy in mind that should help him get a better finish than he should. And looking at Ken Campbell, he didn't get stage bonus points to lead a lap, so he's still in a spot where he needs to get up front and make sure that he's at least 15, he needs to be at least, doing quick math, he needs to be at least 20 positions up. So basically Ken Campbell needs a top 3 finish if he wants a chance to bump John Forbes out.
Yeah, Ken Campbell's got a lofty goal ahead of him, top 3. Not saying it's impossible, but so many fast drivers. He's got to make the right decisions when it comes to pit lane and his stops and how he's got to race the rest of this race. But Ken Campbell still out there. He still wants that chance to move on into round 2 and hope to knock out John Forbes, one of our giants here in the WSSR Cup Series.
And again, that's just to get by John Forbes. There's a couple of other drivers that are a little bit more doable, you could say. That driver being Ryan Kelly. Ryan Kelly did get stage bonus points. He's up 7 points over what would be Cody Reed and add another 2, so that is 9 points over Ken Campbell. So Campbell needs to make sure that he's at least 9 to 10 positions over the 3. Currently, the 15 runs in 9th. Kelly runs in 15, so that's still a good spot if you're Ryan Kelly to move on where he runs currently. Again, Shane Terrian's way off the pace. He's not really looking like a factor, and Drew Jua, he's so far off the pace as well. He's not looking like a factor. He currently runs in 16th position. So our top 11 that entered tonight, Richard, they look good at least halfway through this race.
Yeah, they're definitely looking good. I'm just hoping some of these drivers, can make a little bit more of a last-minute charge that are down there in that elimination zone. So, again, the points are really close. It's really hard to keep track of, who's got to finish where, because the points are all over the place, and with such a small gap between each other, it's still really exciting to watch, and every position is going to matter for each one of these drivers.
It certainly will. John Forbes just got a required damage flag. He's sent to pit road. Ben Kinney will pass him, so John Forbes now falls to 23rd. That is the marker. He's now getting back out on track. It looked like it was just maybe a blown tire for the 11 machine. But he's going to get back out there on track, hope that he can find some more decent pace, but it is looking rough for the 11. As the rest of the field, it's a race for the win. And right now, long run is showing as Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, and Ako trying to run down Gavin Rogers as they've protected their tires. Now it's their time to pounce into the long run.
Yeah, time to pounce. They protected those tires, and Gavin made his charge up to the lead. So he was a hard charger. It's probably what ruined the tires a little bit, but we'll see if these drivers saved enough of their tires to be able to make a move on Gavin. He's that gap's slowly closing as well. Drew here trying to make his way up as well.
Yeah, he's trying to make his way through. Also, I'm impressed at looking at his pace. Ollie Fonseca still, even with his aggressive driving, he's starting to make some moves as getting squeezed in the middle. Joshua Kanata and Vincent Soares. Nick Crawford slides into fourth. Now, remember, Nick Crawford was one of the fastest drivers coming to the end of the stage. That 74 will be a threat to watch out for, as well as looking at some of the other drivers on who could sneak their way forward with some good pace. I think really our top about four are going to be the fastest on the long run to watch out for. But Ali Fonseca, he wants to throw his hand out there because he's 24, able to get by Kanata, able to stay in front of Vincent Sora and trying to keep the pressure on the back bumper of the 74 Nick Crawford.
Yeah, definitely trying to keep the pressure on because pressure being behind another driver can definitely spook them a little bit. But impressive speed from Ali Fonseca up here, running up in this top 10, top 5 actually. So, but doing good. Vincent Sora knocking on his door though, looking to move up as well, trying to get around him. So, but Ali Fonseca having a really clean, very smooth, quick race for himself. Great to see. Ken Campbell looks like he's being challenged by James Scioli almost, but he's going to close the door and not allow that to happen.
And a little bit of breathing room, you could say, for John Forbes, as Andrew Medlin looks to be having some computer issues. The 12 has gone into pit road and is going to be sitting there for quite a while, so that gives a position back to John Forbes, who's now up to 22nd position, even on being so off the pace compared to the rest of the field. As drivers up front, it is still the challenge of who could try to take this win away from Gavin Rogers, and also the big question of when do you go into pit road. Richard, we know the limit that we're expecting these drivers that they can go around, like you said earlier, 65 to 67, but are you going perfectly at that time, or are you thinking maybe a little bit further into this run would you like to pit?
It is definitely a balancing act these drivers have to decide upon. But I mean, if you pit right at the window, that means your tires and your fuel is going to be on the edge coming to the very end of the race, especially if they have an overtime situation. But some of the drivers, they might opt to just run a little bit longer. That'll allow them to have a little bit more tire resource later in that final run. So it's definitely a balancing act these drivers have to decide on. Do they want to lose a little bit time to fresh tires, or do they want to have a longer run on older tires as well?
Ken Campbell, again, we talked about how he needs to have a perfect run, even with being involved in the big one here tonight. The 15 got the damage repaired, and he had over 50 seconds of optional damage that he at least got repaired. We don't know what the full extent some of these drivers have to still get damage repaired for. So the 15 could still have a little bit of damage, but moves up to 7th. That it means he's going to get by another driver that's on older tires. The next driver that's on the oldest set of tires that's inside of our top 5 is Vincent Sora in 5th. Ali Fonseca's trying to catch up to him, but looks like James Scioli does not want to just lay over for 7th place. He's still fighting for that 7th position over Ken Campbell.
Well, I mean, James Scioli, he definitely, I mean, when you started in 3rd place, I mean, you're pretty far back from where you started. He's trying to get back up to where he'd been running. He'd won stage 1. So he wants more wins, especially like he said, he won't be here for Vegas. So he's trying to get as many points as he possibly can as he's getting ready to look on the inside of Ken Campbell and make that pass.
Trying to get to the inside, does force the mistake by the 15 in the battle for 7th place. Will go back to the 77 of James Scioli. And for Campbell, not recognizing, okay, I'll just back off, let you have that spot for now and attempt for a different day. Go for that pass. Up front, Gavin Rogers still leads this race, but seeing some other battles that are happening on course. Here's Drew Jua, Jared Talmadge going back and forth, and for Jared Talmadge, that 27 does not want to see this move happen. Falling back, this 27 is putting himself in a dangerous situation because if Talmadge falls too far backwards, Ken Campbell could capitalize and bump out the Cinderella story from getting into the playoffs to knocked out in the first round.
Yeah, and Jared Talmadge coming in above the cut line. That's still not a comfortable place for you to be, but Every position he loses is 1 point closer to the red zone, which is the elimination area. So he doesn't want to see cars passing him, but he's just trying to figure out what he can do. He's just keeping his car clean right now. He's definitely got to find some speed underneath that 27 machine so he can start making some passes and gain those points back that he's been slowly losing.
Ken Campbell runs in 8th to be Talmadge back in 16th, and still trying to keep those positions tied up as you can, as we've just hit coming up to the window. You can make it from here. Ben Keeney going to go into pit road to get service done. With that pit stop, John Forbes moves back up into 21st position, so that helps solidify his spot for now. But again, drivers are still trying to fight for every position possible. And Ali Fonseca, James Scioli, they go side by side for 6th, and James Scioli, even on the older tires, he is fighting back to those that were pushing too aggressively early on. Might have lose that spot about I don't know, 40 laps ago, but now he's taking it back on 54 lap old tires.
Yeah, I think the tires right now have kind of plateaued throughout the field. Older tires are still going to be a little bit more worn out than the new, but going to get into Ali Fonseca a little bit there, it looked like. Little tap, but they both keep it straight. But these tires, they've basically evened out throughout the field, so that's what we're seeing right now. And Ali Fonseca is trying to make this pass, but Scioli is not giving up as he still is able to stay in front of Ali Fonseca.
I'm going to take that right back as Scioli back inside of our top 7. The battle for the lead now underway as Gavin Rogers has finally been caught, and the worry of the longer run is finally struck. It's Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter going to be in line, and it's Snowy Desert Racing. Can they find a way to get by Gavin Rogers? And Next Level Motorsports trying their best on the outside, but the 75, he'd been cruising up front. And last season's champ is Zach Hall now takes the lead as he gets by the 75.
Number 1 in the first position. Zach Hall will lead this field now, finally back up in the front of the field. Good to see him there, but Gavin Rogers not liking it as he's about to be passed also by Cedric Hunter. Gavin might have used a little bit too much tires working his way through the field early on, and he's starting to see that. But he could be also falling. You know, another thing he could be doing is falling behind these two. These two are teammates. So this might give him an option to be able to pit with them since he doesn't have teammates out there. And he's got to make the strategy calls by himself on where to pit. So this could be a chance for him to pit with some of the drivers that he likes to work with, that he talks with every now and then. So he might just be falling back to see what these guys are going to do when it comes to pit stops.
Yeah, and you know, with pushing aggressively, could be the tires have worn away. And like you said, strategy call could be there for the 75. And if you're Gavin Rogers and you've been caught at this point in a run, I mean, do you want to make that early of a pit stop? These drivers have only been at Green Flag Racing for 42 laps, and you're caught, and you've been passed by 2 other drivers. But over the radio, starting to see some of our first top 10 drivers making the call, and it's Nick Crawford, 74. He said he's pitting, and Crawford going to be the first taker into pit road. And this is an interesting thing to see because Crawford was so good during the stage. At the end of the stage, didn't show that same pace here during this run, so might have been a little bit too aggressive. We'll see what changes are made, but first taker is the 74.
And Nick Crawford is one of those drivers that pit under the yellow there as well. So this is actually a really early stop for those runners. We'll see what that strategy calls for Nick Crawford. Trying to undercut is what it seems like. I mean, that will benefit him over the drivers that have been out a lot longer because he'll spend less time on pit road. But that could start the chain of drivers starting to pit because they are within that pit stop window to make it the rest of the race.
I mean, they're in the window, but if you're wanting to split this run in half compared to where you were running to the end of this race, you still have another 10 more laps to go, maybe another 8 more laps. So I think for majority of the field, they might try to push it to that halfway marker that they're thinking about, splitting this 55 to the end of this run. So we're getting close to that position, but that was the thing I was expecting Gavin Rogers to be one of those first takers, but it was going to be a major risk to take once you're seeing the major difference on the long run pace.
Yeah, and I think Gavin Rogers, one of the things that I've talked to him about is strategy. He's not that fantastic at picking a strategy call that works. He's fast. He knows how to drive these cars. He knows how to get up and win these races. but without having a teammate behind him or team in general to talk through things with, he's kind of out there making decisions by himself. So, Gavin, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, I think this would be a great time for, drivers like Gavin or even those front runners to come in and pit. You're going to spend less time on pit road for filling up the fuel, but the tires seem, after these 40, almost 50 laps of racing, they seem to have plateaued on time. They're not really losing any more time than they have before. So this would be a perfect time to come in, pit, spend less time on pit road, get out, and get that lead extended once everyone does their rounds of pit stops.
More drivers further on back now entering pit road. Dakota Moniz just entering pit road. One more playoff contenders getting back out on track. That's Ryan Kelly, who's going to be serving all the way back. Again, Kelly's going to be one of those main drivers to watch out for of how much time and ground can he make up and hold back from the likes of Ken Campbell, Shane Terrian. Those are the two that can knock Kelly out of the playoffs. We're moving on to the next round as John Forbes, 21st position, he still looks good. The only issue for John Forbes, he still needs to make a pit stop. He pitted 10 laps too soon for making it to the end where he runs, but he also is running so off the pace, he might be able to stretch it out to that marker. As seeing the drivers going back and forth, here's the battling for 11th position. Samuel Garcia in the 50 machine, putting pressure on Brian Johnson. And you'll love to see this from Garcia. Again, he's on those quote-unquote newer tires compared to some of the competition around him, but they're not as fresh as you would like. But Garcia put in almost a 3-wide scenario as seeing Ben Kitty rip the top with the fresh rubber. But I gotta say, I am highly impressed with what I'm seeing from the 50 machine.
Yeah, he is really doing a fantastic job tonight, even being aggressive as well. So he's starting to stretch his legs and show these drivers like, hey, I'm finally here to race. I've got the control of this car. And he wants to show what he can do, and he's doing that here tonight as well. And he's doing a great job keeping that car clean and fast at the same time.
Here's going to be the battling for 8th place. Teammates Chris Stitz, Ken Campbell, Storm Motorsports. Where will you place yourself if you're that 17 machine? As will you want to fight your teammate who's in the playoffs, or do you just settle behind and just let them race this out? I think that's probably one of the toughest decisions to make, is you're trying to help your teammates, of course, throughout a run, but you also want to have the best finish you can. And these are those odd scenarios of, do I attempt to pass or just stay in line?
Yeah, this is where, if I think right now it's just kind of staying in line and waiting for your pit stop window that you're choosing. And if you can make a pass, it's got to be quick. You can't sit side by side for long, because you're just going to lose ground to the guy in front of you and give that guy behind you an opportunity to pass one of you or even both of you. So, I mean, right now they're going side by side. They're trying to make the pass, but it's got to be quick. But Drew Jua going to split it in 3 wide down the middle of those two, but he's going to back off. Probably not the smart choice to do.
Yeah, Ben's trying his best to make these passes work for that 98 machine. But I got to say, Drew Jua, later into this run, this is a perfect surge by the 88. As for Drew Jua, again, he finished sixth, excuse me, at the stage. So he got some pretty good stage bonus points. Ryan Kelly only able to get a few stage bonus points. This is going to put Drew Jua in a little bit more of a comfortable scenario, where I believe he's only about 5 positions off from the 3 from taking that spot. So Drew Jua still has a berth and a chance to fight for a playoff hunt. But again, he needs to find a way to, once he enters pit road, get by the 3 and put some distance between himself and positions.
Yeah, I think he's getting ready to pit. A lot of the drivers that didn't pit under yellow latest pit stops time, they've been running the track for 68, 69 laps, which is a little longer than their fuel window. So pit stops are starting to happen for the majority of the field, as we're about to see where the strategy is about to benefit a lot of these drivers, as Nick Crawford on fresh tires is screaming through the field right now.
He certainly is, but into pit road going to be James Scioli, Drew Jua, as well as going to be seeing likes of Joshua Kanata, Garcia, Vincent Sora as they leave pit road. About to come into pit road is now Zach Hull in the 1 machine. No one has been caught with speeding penalties. I think that's the one positive we can take away so far from last week to this week. You can see there, Ollie Fonseca, Ken Campbell making slight contact, different speeds on how you can go through pit road, as a little bit faster than the number it tells you, as these drivers pit speed limit is 45 miles per hour. As more drivers into pit road, we still wait for Cedric Connor, Chris Stitz, Christopher Wade to make their stops of our top 3. Everyone else has already entered pit road.
Cedric Hunter right here is diving into pit road. It's time for him to get service done to that car. New tires, fresh fuel. But a lot of the drivers now pulling out. Got a huge field of drivers coming out of the pit right now. So, I mean, great stops by everybody. This undercut, the drivers like Vincent Sora, James Scioli, and Gavin Rogers, these three, some of the three fastest drivers on the track, they made the undercut over Zach Hall and Cedric Hunter as they're passing Zach Hall now as they're out of the pits.
Passing them now, and this with pitting earlier, this also gives you a chance to get a lap lead bonus point. So that one bonus point can be so crucial in the long game for some of these drivers. Still waiting to go to pit road is Chris Stitz, who stays out on track. Might be waiting on a yellow flag to be thrown if that is able to happen, as Crawford leads the way up front ahead of Ryan Kelly by quite a margin. Also over Larry Yingling, Vincent Soros, Scioli, all trying to find a way to stay ahead of Cedric Hunter and Zach Hall. They're going to be mired back around 7th and 8th position once this pit cycle concludes. We are coming up to the end of this race, the end of the run, and it's crazy to say, Richard. I mean, yes, we had those blemishes, the big one, a couple of wrecks here or there that brought out yellows, but this race has been amazing to watch, majority of it being green.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a wonderful race to watch, including the different strategy calls these drivers decided to take, with half the field coming down to take tires and fuel, one of those cautions. So, and it's kind of opened up a huge gap in strategy for green flag pit stops. So, with only 2 cautions this race and only 6 caution laps, it's been a primarily green flag race. So, it's allowed for a lot of different pit strategy calls to come out. And it's going to be exciting to see who made the right calls and who's going to be able to keep those tires for the longer bits. But with Nick Crawford and Ryan Kelly and Larry Yingling, the 3 on the track with some of the oldest tires, let's see how long they can hold that lead, as they are about 3 to 4 seconds over that of Vincent Sora and the rest of the drivers.
And I'm looking at the pace that Nick Crawford and those that are up front on over 10 lap older tires than those that just came into pit road and got service done. They're running very similar times, maybe a 10th, maybe 2/10 off is the speed difference on just about 10 to 15 laps. So I gotta say, for Crawford, big gain and really minimal loss so far. We'll see once we're about 20 laps to 30 laps into a run when that real true fall off happens. But I'd say right now, this has been incredible pace going back and forth from our top 3 to the rest of the field.
Yeah, I think the rest of the field is doing a great job just kind of taking it easy on these tires. They know they've got to, outlast those 3 in front to be able to make the moves later. So the 3 in front, who knows, they could be running their tires a little bit stronger or trying to save as well, but eventually they will get caught. There will be a disparity on when those tires kind of fall off. But after about 40, 45 laps, I believe these tires will plateau. So at that point, it'll be about the same speed, but we'll see what drivers can make the moves work and where to stick the car when those tires do wear out to be able to get a little bit more speed to make those passes to get around to the win.
The chase, the run down, we'll see how it goes down, as Nick Crawford about 2.6 seconds over Ryan Kelly. But as it is the chase, it is the rundown. This is going to be a perfect timing, I think, for us to step away for a quick moment, give ourselves a little bit of a rest as these drivers getting prepared for the final 40 laps of this race. It's going to get a lot more chaotic as the laps dwindle down. Can they run down and catch up to Ryan Kelly, Nick Crawford? We'll find out in a few moments as you are watching the WSSR Cup Series Season 10 playoffs. It's the cutoff race of the round of 16 here at Texas. We go from 16 down to 11. We'll find out when we come back who's moving on to the playoffs. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. After that commercial break, it is back to the rundown. Who can catch up to Nick Crawford? Ryan Kelly has just been caught by the train of drivers that have about 7 lap fresher tires than those in front. That's Vincent Sora, James Scioli, Gavin Rogers, Zach Hall, and Cedric Hunter, all trying to find a way to get by the 3 machine who runs in second. And with all the battling and holding back that Kelly's doing right now, this is helping and assisting Nick Crawford, who's hoping that by the time they get by this 3 machine, the tires will be equaled out. It's gonna be a real thing of which strategy was better. Was it Crawford being the first to pit, or those that waited a little bit later to finally make their pit stop? We can't wait to give you the end of this run as Kelly gets past Sora already. Going to be making that charge forward. We're excited to have all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Richard Wolsifer. And Richard, with that pass, Sora now has clean air. No other drivers to worry about except for that leader ahead of him.
No other drivers to worry about ahead of him, yes, but he's still got a train behind him. I mean, you can throw a blanket over the positions of 2nd through 7th, and they're all playoff drivers. So, I mean, he might not have anybody to worry about in front of him except for the leader, but James Scioli, Gavin Rogers, Cedric Hunter, and Zach Hall are all still knocking on his door saying, hey, we're here. You're not alone, so don't make a mistake, because any mistake any one of them make is going to lose more than 1 or 2 positions.
And these are drivers that cannot afford to have those big mistakes happen. Also, other notes, as this run and this grouping is trying to catch up to Nick Crawford. Again, it's 2 seconds. At the pace that they're going, they're going to catch up and maybe pass Nick Crawford in the next 10 to 15 laps. So then it would be a 15-lap shootout against this cluster of drivers on who's going to win this thing. But Ryan Kelly, who just got past in the 3 machine, he's got to be worried because he's on much older tires and he's being run down by Drew Jua, who's trying to steal that final spot to move on to the next round. As well, a driver to watch out for is Jarrett Talmadge, who's all the way down in 17th place. Talmadge is in the biggest worry of being knocked out of the playoffs because already Drew Jua is up to 9th place. Oh, it's going to be Talmadge down in 17th. That is already a big enough gap where I believe Drew Jua would be knocking out Talmadge, which would be such a frustrating moment for the 27, who really, it was just because he was on that bad strategy of pitting, not pitting at our last caution that set him back in this position where he's back in 17.
Yeah, and Drew Jua has had a fantastic recovery run also, just struggling with tires earlier on, but looks like Scioli's going to make a move on Vincent Sora. I think that's a little early in my opinion. These drivers still need to catch that leader. We still have a lot of laps left in this race. I think this could be just using too much of your resource a little too early, as Zach Hall's going to look low. No, Gavin Rogers going to shut the door, but Scioli and Vincent Sora still side by side. This is just losing time on the leader, not what you want to see when you're in this group of drivers.
Hey, every battle, every chance that they can go side by side, it helps Nick Crawford lose the amount of time that these drivers will have to pass them. The only issue is at the pace that this group is, even while battling side by side, they're still catching Nick Crawford by about 2/10. That's plenty of time to catch up to that 74 before this race is over. But being the lead driver, having the clean air, able to really save those tires being up front, that might be the real mindset here of Scioli is, I want to be the lead driver. I don't want to just follow this 51 anymore. And for Gavin Rogers, he wants to get back up front where he really feels the most comfortable when he's racing on track. While Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, the 2 that sit in the back, they've been the ones who have saved and protected their tires the best all race long. They're just waiting for a mistake so they can strike and pounce.
Yeah, their time to pounce is coming soon. They are just sitting and waiting, but they've single filed out again. Sora back in front of Scioli. They've kind of realized, you know, maybe we should save some tires, but Zach Hall making a move on Gavin Rogers right now as he's going to go low into turn 1.
Zach Hall, so much history here in Texas. I think back to the season 6 finish. When they raced here, it was Zach Hall, Vincent Sora. It was the chase down for that race. Hall had over a 2-second gap where Vincent Sora ran him down, and they both made contact out of 4 on the final lap, where Hall ultimately lost that race. And he lost the race to the driver who's in second of Vincent Sora. Sora has found so many ways to get into victory lane here in the past. He's won 2 of the last 5 times they've ran here, and he won last season. Can Vincent Sora get it done? Scioli says no, and Nick Crawford has been caught. The 74 did everything that it could, but that extreme early pit stop has been negated, and it's now a lost cause. Or will we even stay green to make it to the end? Because with the way that these 5 drivers on top of one another are going to be racing, I don't think that they're going to be able to keep it clean and green, as Sora, Scioli side by side as they see the leader right in front of them.
Scioli and Sora side by side again as they catch up to Nick Crawford. Nick Crawford not a side he wants to see. Vincent Sora getting really close, gonna go low. Scioli gonna go high. They're gonna split Nick Crawford, and he's losing it a little bit, but he's able to save it. Oh man, great work by Crawford, but he is just going to get passed by every single one of them. Looked like Cedric Hunter put Gavin Rogers into the wall a little bit there, but Gavin Rogers now stuck outside of Crawford.
Crawford trying to keep his foot in the throttle to help his teammates to linger back and hold Gavin Rogers with the side draft. Not able to do so anymore, but Nick Crawford over the radio feel lucky, because honestly, if Crawford didn't wheel that thing straight, it could have been bad for that grouping. How fast they are and how this battle is going to be run down. We could have seen that quick yellow strike coming to the 20-lap dash, but instead, 5 drivers in line. 5 drivers within a second of one another. They all pitted within 2 laps of one another. This is coming down to who's got the raw speed, who figured out how to protect their tires the best. And with 12 laps to go, it's anyone's game really between this cluster. The top 5 are about to give us probably the best show we could have asked for all this season. As the drivers are in line, it's Vincent Sora, James Scioli, Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, Gavin Rogers going to be in line with one another, looking at trying to collect with the draft. Nick Crawford's tires just aren't there. It's going to be your top 5 that stay in line. We're coming up to 21 laps to go. There is some drivers blinking in the middle of the field. That's Chris Stitz, who's having some issues for himself. Other drivers of note, Jared Talmadge still runs in 16th position. His driver of note that he's worried about is Drew Jua, who has just moved up to 7th. He's running fast enough that he might be able to even pass over Nick Crawford to 6th place. Jared Talmadge's chances to run for a championship could be over, because he needs to get in front of Ryan Kelly if he wants a chance to continue on this run. Ryan Kelly runs in 8th place. That is great job for him for how early he pitted. He might fall down a couple of more spots, but the other drivers that could jump him in the playoffs run back 13th or worse. So Ryan Kelly's chances of moving on to the next round are still alive. It's Jared Talmadge that's in the biggest worry currently. I gotta say, this run has been great to see all the drivers bouncing back and forth, but also something that we really didn't touch on here tonight. Looking at the roster of those that showed up and were able to race, it's actually, I misspoke, something I didn't notice on until now, which I feel silly about it. Kind of similar to how silly I felt looking back at Daytona. Brian McCann did not show up. So that will bump up the challenge of who's that cutoff driver. That is still open for some of these drivers. That actually completely changes up my window. We may not know who's in or out until this race is over, with Brian McCann not showing up, not putting down a lap time. That means it is really anyone's game from Cody Reed, for Shane Terry and Ken Campbell, Drew Jua. Hey, your fight's on. Who's going to have the better run between the 9, going to be the 15, and the 88? Well, Drew Jua is already going to be trying to bounce out and take that spot solidified. But if you're Ken Campbell, there's a chance that you can maybe try to bump someone else out if you have a chance, but you really need to see Ryan Kelly maybe fall off some more to be that second driver that moves in. Currently where they run, Drew Jua would be that driver to make it into the playoffs and move on with Brian McCann out. As we'll do another test to see, Richard Wolfsfer, are you there?
Yep, we're back.
Okay,
Another
we're back.
technical difficulty with the PC, so I am sorry. But right around here is Shane Terry, a driver looking to make a strong run the rest of this race as he's trying to get into the round 2 of playoffs. But Drew Jewell, like we're talking, I hear you talking about, man, he's up to 6th place. A great run for him, a great recovery run for Drew Jewell. As Shane Terrian is also just trying to have the strongest. Oh, Drew Jewell with a little bit of moment getting on the apron.
A little bit of a moment, but he continues racing on. Richard, I don't know if you heard what I stated. The fact that we kind of saw this. Brian McCann did not start this race. He did not run a lap. He is not getting start park points. That is a 0 for the 8 machine. That means it was a battle of who could get up front and challenge of our outside looking in drivers. Drew Jua could get a free ride in, and all looks like for Jared Talmadge, he's now looking at Ken Campbell and curious if that 15 can get far enough ahead. It is between Jared Talmadge and Ken Campbell on who will take that final spot to move on.
Oh man, with Brian McCann not showing up, that is so unfortunate for his playoff chances as well. But this is a great moment for those of Ben Campbell and this such. So, I mean, this opens up a whole slew of different doors and point situations. But these drivers still doing everything they can, every position they can try and grab is trying to get that one extra point to move into that top 11.
Looking at Ken Campbell right now, currently runs in 13th place. Jared Talmadge, runs in 16th. That is not enough positions. Campbell needs to get at least looking at the point situation that I have written down, and this is unofficial with 14 laps to go, about to be 13. I'm looking at the numbers and believe for Ken Campbell, he needs to be at least 8 positions up over that 27, only being 4 currently. That's not enough. He needs to see the 27 fall off on pace. And the drivers I'm looking behind them, they are older tires. Talmadge looks good currently to keep that 15 out.
Talmadge is looking wonderful right now, having a great run tonight, just trying to maintain his spot because, yeah, he wants to get in and he'll keep Ken Campbell out of the playoffs, but Ken still trying to look forward, trying to get the speed under that 15 machine because he wants to be able to continue his playoff run as well.
As these battles, situations, again, unofficial on our numbers. We will give you official numbers once we go into the post-race show and talk to our top 3 and get their thoughts and maybe who was the last driver. As Campbell brushes the wall. You don't want to see that for the 15. But looking at the drivers up ahead, it is Vincent Sora, James Scioli within 2/10 for this lead position. Behind them, Zach Hall has fallen off. He's almost 7/10 off of that battle for second position. As you see Shane Terrian being the driver in between the mix of our top 5. Cedric Hunter also falling off slightly. Gavin Rogers still staying attached. So seeing our top 5, they're scattering a little bit more now with the difference of lap traffic kind of getting in the way and kind of blocking it in some sorts. I think dirty air also playing a factor that's not allowing this field, those that were expecting to have good long run pace, they're starting to fall off. But maybe it's a strategy call. If you're Hall, Hunter, let these guys go on and drive away, or this might be true pace from Vincent Sora and Scioli just driving her away from the rest of the field.
I think this is just true pace. I mean, if they're trying to save, I think they're saving too much. They're running out of time. They only have 9 laps to go as they cross the line this time around. So, I mean, unless they know something that we don't, I feel these drivers, it's just raw pace now. I don't think there's any saving going on. These drivers have got to get moving if they want to catch those front 2 that are just kind of walking off with this win.
They certainly are walking away with this one as Sora and Scioli still stay within distance. This battle for third is going to be a fun one to watch between the teammates and Gavin Rogers. This was the battle for who was going to be leading this race coming to the green flag pit stops was between these 3, and right now they need to find just a little bit more extra pace if possible to try to catch up to our top 2, which top 2 change it up. James Scioli, Vincent Sora, they go side by side, back and forth, and with them battling side by side, this breathes life for Zach Hall. This breathes life into Cedric Hunter and Gavin Rogers. Now they're starting to catch up to our top 2 now, as now they went from being a second back to about 8/10 and less. As Vincent Sora, keep your foot in the throttle, march on the outside, a little bit of squeeze, spin, Sora around, caution is out. Gavin Rogers gets through. Oh no, Scioli into Hall, into Hunter, the leaders, they wreck. Oh
that's just
my goodness.
a horrible situation. You want to see the leader getting loose and spinning out and taking out another 2 playoff drivers as well. This is not what you want to see, but this is hard racing for the lead is what it looks like as we ride along for the replay. Scioli on the inside of Vincent Sora as they dive into turn 3. We'll see what happens to Scioli here as he gets a little loose on the inside. It looks up and kind of into Sora. Sora goes around and then spins out Scioli as well. So the 2 leaders.
No, go back into the outside, because then you see Hall and others go into Scioli, and oh, a major contact there. Sora, then I believe he was able to avoid that wreck, but keeping it to the outside shot, because we don't want to get too zoomed in and miss anything here, because this is catastrophic for some of these drivers. Now, James Scioli does have required damage. Luckily, he won last week, so Scioli is locked into the next round. But all the other competition, this is not what you want to see late in this race as they go scattering into the tri-oval. Scioli drifts back up into the teammates, and they had nowhere to go, and Vincent Sora did get hit there by the 51, and oh my goodness, does this change so much late?
Oh man, a 1-2 finish for Scioli and Sora turns into damage for both of them and to the back of the field, basically. And then you have the teammates of Cedric Hunter and Zach Hall also being involved in that, requiring some damage or repairs. Not necessarily requiring, but probably needing some as well. But that is just a nightmare of a situation for the leading drivers and playoff drivers as well. But Gavin Rogers, I believe, was able to get through that. He's going to benefit from that. Drew Jua back up front. He's going to benefit from that as well. And as long as also Larry Yingling, who was falling back because of older tires, he's back in the contention as well.
Yeah, Ryan Kelly now going to be the mix. Ken Campbell, now he'll be able to get tires and get into the fight here. And looking at the drivers that were involved in this wreck, James Scioli, again, required damage. He'll stay in pit road for quite a while. Zach Hall has optional damage. He's in pit road. Shane Tarian was able to get repairs done, and he's back out on track. So the 9, hoping that damage repair will give him a fighting chance to gain maybe a couple of points here late. Vincent Sora, he looked pretty good on points at one moment. He did get good stage points, but this is, like I said, with about 15 to go, we still don't know exactly who's going to be good or not, but this is now put in the realm of some drivers that maybe thought that they weren't going to be in a winning situation. They are back in this, and it is going to be a quick shootout. I believe it's going to be about 3 to 4 laps to lights. I believe lights are off. Could be wrong on that one, but we're going to be getting ready to go here. We're going to be inside of regulation. I mean, this is completely wide open for these drivers here, Richard. Lights are off. We're going this time. I mean, let the madness begin, I guess. Here we go.
Yeah, the lights are off. They are going to go green this time, and we all have 4 laps to go when they take the green flag. And, I mean, what we thought was a pretty set in stone playoff picture with the points, as drivers really weren't moving very much except for the front, has completely shifted. Drivers in the back are up front, drivers in the front are out back. So a huge point swing for a lot of these drivers that were on the outside looking in and now are basically standing on the edge looking like, I can touch it, it's right there. And they just have to make the last bit of smart moves as the pace car takes that hard left into the pits.
Pace car into pit road. It is going to be a 4-lap shootout. We get a caution for that white flag. We have overtime if needed. Green flag in the air, and it's Drew Jua watching all of his competition drive away late. Has a chance now. 88's going to take off and go. Cedric Hunter did not show damage that he needed to really get repaired. He took track position instead as Nick Crawford snaps loose just for a quick moment. He'll falter back, but it's side by side for second place. Hunter, Yingling, also going to be Rogers as Drew Jua pulls away.
A great restart for Drew Jua as he launched out of a cannon for that restart, leaving the drivers behind him to scuffle and fight for position. But Gavin Rogers side by side with Larry Yingling with 3 laps to go. He's got to get by him so he can chase down Cedric Hunter and the leader. But it's not as easy. All these drivers are now on even sets of tires, all fresh tires around these drivers. So it's going to be even harder to pass. You would think it might be a little easier, but when you're They're all running full out 100%. It is not an easy situation to make passes.
Absolutely not. Most drivers taking 4. 2 did take 2 tires. That's Drew Jua who leads this race. Larry Yingling as well took 2 tires. Everyone else took 4 tires and fuel to take off and go. But with that 2-tire call, Drew Jua just put down the fastest lap of the race here late. A 29.7-second lap time. Rest of the field, how do you catch him with 2 laps to go? Big block by Larry Yingling on Ollie Fonseca, trying to hold back that Ohio State machine. Ollie sending everything he can to get inside of the top 5, but it's Drew Jua, exit of 4, coming to the white flag. This is all Drew Jua with over a half a second ahead of the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's Drew Jua is the only one up there half a second, puts another fast lap of the race. Drew Jua, it is all him unless he makes a mistake himself, as they're all scuffling behind him for second, third, fourth, and even further on back.
Big blocks going further on back. Shane Terrian on Jared Talmadge, but it's all eyes up front. It was Drew Jua outside looking in. Well, welcome to the next round, the 88. Welcome to the round of 11. Drew Jua wins.
A fantastic run from Drew Jua. A second place start, fell all the way back to almost 20th position, and back to the front he goes. In the lead, wins the race, and punches his ticket to round 2.
Not that first lap when they took off, but all 3 final laps. Drew Jua set fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap. The 88 would not be denied, taking just 2 tires and showing that was the strategy to go. Drew Jua, what a win. Needed some help late, was gifted the caution, and he took that as a chance for victory. Don't got to worry about points for that 88 machine, nor for James Scioli, but for the rest of the field, look at your calculators. It's going to be a worrisome spot for some drivers here as we get ourselves prepared for the post-race show. We'll talk to our top 3, Drew Jua, Gavin Rogers, Cedric Hunter, and a spotlight driver right after this. Congratulations to that Lucky Ducks driver of Drew Jua winning here at Texas. We'll be back right after this. Welcome to the post-race show for the last race of the round of 16 in your season 10 playoffs of the WSSR Cup Series. What a finish. Leaders take each other out late, send us to a 4-lap shootout, and Drew Jua never looked back. Took 2 tires and went straight to victory lane. This guy put 3 of the fastest laps back to back to back to take the win there late. Drew, I mean, what a performance for yourself. At one moment, we were scared because of the way that it was looking on long run pace for yourself, but you got that late caution, took 2 tires, you're in victory lane and moving on to the next round of the playoffs. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I mean, with about 10 to go, or, even during that last run, uh, I was kind of just in a lot of trouble. And I was just going to let bygones be bygones, to be honest. I didn't think I was going to make it out of the round. And we got that yellow. We were running 6th, which for how that first part of that run after the sage, or the yellow, I mean, didn't really look too good. We saved our tires and we were flying at the end of that run, but ran out of gas there, so we had to pit. Well, we didn't run out, but um, we didn't really have enough fuel to kind of use those tires that we saved. So, um, we got that lucky yellow, and I was like, 2 is always what you want to do in these next gens. So we took 2, and nobody else took 2, and we were like you said, we were ripping those final 3 laps. And I want to. It's kind of like those William Byron wins where he gets a lucky timed yellow, which I don't always agree. He deserved to win the 500. He made the right move, but rambling on. But lucky timed yellow, took 2. It was the right call, and we ended up in victory for our second win of the season.
Yeah, I mean, lucky time for Lucky Ducks again for sure. Jurjua, I mean, you were my pick 'em for tonight to win. You were outside looking in for the playoff hopes. And just like you've done many times before from the back to the front, you started up front but shuffled in the back. I mean, those last 3 laps, you were putting down qualifying laps. I mean, how worried were you after last week's Glen issue coming into tonight?
Yeah, we made a lot of mistakes at the Glen, and we're lucky to keep stage points. And then we got into a wreck, and my car had like 15 minutes of damage. It was just over. So came in tonight, and I was kind of really surprised, if I'm being honest, how many points I was behind. I thought it would have been a lot more. So 6 points wasn't a lot to gain, and pushed a little too hard in that first stage. Just absolutely cooked my right rear. I was wrecking off the corner almost the whole final couple laps of that stage. But like we said, got 5 stage points, which were enough to kind of put us in the hunt. And that yellow really was unfortunate. I didn't expect for everybody to pit, for as much people to pit as they did. And like I said, had to save tires there to try and do something at the end. And we were able to cut our way through the field. Like you said, come back from the back, which I've done a lot of times this season, unfortunately. But it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this next round. Hopefully, I won't put myself behind after the first race, because I've done it multiple times. And hopefully, we can lock ourselves into the final round, which we couldn't do last year.
I mean, it'd be incredible to see, Drew, with Homestead in Las Vegas. What is the confidence for yourself knowing that we're going to a somewhat short track flat, New Hampshire, and then we've got Las Vegas that kind of is like a super speedway at times?
I haven't run a lot of New Hampshire on iRacing. I kind of try to stay away from it, so probably gonna have to put some time in. Probably not. Who knows? But looking forward to Las Vegas. It's another one of these ovals, which I've been pretty good at this year. Both of my wins coming on ovals. So looking forward to this next round. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy we made it through this round.
Well, Drew, it was incredible to watch your performance there in those final 3 laps and throughout the night. Before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, shout out to you guys for all you do, broadcasting every single week. Shout out to Lucky Ducks. Have 2 cars in the next round, swept this round. Shout out to Meals for Wheels. If you haven't already, go check them out. You like donating to charities, and you do that. And just ready for next week.
Cannot wait for it. Well, Drew, congratulations on this win and punching your ticket to the next round. Enjoy this one and good luck next week at New Hampshire.
Thank you guys.
As we head to we leave victory lane, we head to second place to talk to one of the drivers that got probably one of the scariest shows there at that last caution. As we have Gavin Rogers with us coming away second. Gavin, in fighting claw to find yourself in second there. A couple of good battles, but hey, how are you feeling just knowing you survived that big wreck late that put us into that 4-lap shootout?
Oh man, I'm feeling exhausted, but I'm happy about the second place for sure. You know, I didn't have much confidence going into it. After qualifying 25th, I hit the wall on my second lap, and I was glad that I at least had Vincent in front of me because I know that he's freaking ridiculous on the long runs and getting through the field that far in the back, and I was trying to keep up with them. Got up to a few spots. He eventually kind of pulled ahead, and then just kind of everything kind of figured out through the end. And I really struggled on the long run. I don't know what my problem is with long runs. I've been trying to figure them out for a while. But in this league, these guys are just freaking fast on the long runs. I don't get it. I try to back it up, and can't keep it ahead of them. They find ways to keep them going and keep those tires fresh, or somewhat fresh compared to mine at least. But no, P2 is great, especially after how tonight kind of felt for me.
Yeah, and kind of gonna tag a little bit of last week. You know, you were kind of the shoe in for the most part when it comes to road course racing, but just the issue on pit road speeding. I mean, you were kind of set for advancing to round two, but I guess tonight was your goal just to get as many points as you can to have a little bit of a cushion into round two.
Not necessarily. I kind of went in. I even told my buddy Rev and Nick that I just want to try to go into this and try to learn whatever I can from the other guys because I know I'm at a disadvantage on the long runs. I feel like I figured out a few things. Obviously, not gonna really say much, but I definitely feel like felt figured out a couple things for sure. But just gonna have to see how it plays out the next few tracks, and hopefully I can pull something off.
Well, next few tracks, we got New Hampshire, Las Vegas. What is your mindset knowing that we've got that mile flat track and then Las Vegas that you never know what we're going to see on speed?
Yeah, I feel like I'll be good at New Hampshire. It's just a matter of I feel like it's I hate to say it, but I feel like it's a matter of luck and just kind of how strategy is going to play out. I have a feeling there's probably going to be a lot of cautions there. I've raced there before. Richard was in that race. I believe he won that, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, I'm thinking of another one. Sorry. But I know he won one of them. I know that for sure. But it's definitely a hectic track, especially in a big field like this, and the playoffs as well. It's going to be pretty crazy. So I feel like just have to have luck on my side there. Vegas is obviously a good track, for sure. I think this is a night race, so hopefully it's not going to be too slick and not going to be too cold either. I don't want to pack race if I'm being honest. I just kind of want it to be a little bit spread out. And then Dover and Homestead, I feel pretty decent at those tracks. I feel like those tracks are pretty unique. I'm just gonna have to see how the track conditions play out. I feel like I have good advantages on certain things. I'm just gonna have to see if it comes into my favor.
Cannot wait to see how you're going to perform in those future races, Gavin. Before we let you go, though, the floor's now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, just first of all, I want to give all glory to God. Want to shout out my whole family, everybody watching, all the sponsors: Sunance Pizza, Butt Kicker, Sim Magic, Advanced GG, all my buddies, Rev, Nick, Richard, you in the booth, all my other league buddies. I know they were probably watching tonight, and I appreciate them for everything that they do. Appreciate all the admins in this league for what they do, and you guys also for doing such a great broadcast.
Well, thank you for giving us such a great show. That will be your second place finisher here at Texas of Gavin Rogers, who also will move on to the next round of the playoffs. Congratulations. Enjoy this one, Gavin, and good luck at New Hampshire next week.
Alrighty, thanks, Sam.
As we go from second, let's go down to third. Talk to a driver who, we talked about how Gavin Rogers came through. I don't know how he came out of that last wreck and having the pace that he did. We have Cedric Hunter with us. Cedric, I mean, how are you feeling? You are moving on in the playoffs, and you somehow survived that melee that was our final caution of the day.
Yeah, it was good. It's good to finally be competing for a podium again. Obviously, it sucks to be so close to a possible win. I keep forgetting that 2 tires with only, like, 2 laps to go is really, 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 really strong, and I think it's the 2nd time this season or in the last 2 seasons that I've, like, put myself in a position like, in a decent position towards the end of the race, and then just somebody took 2 tires, and it just, completely went south for me, but, I had damage on the front end. I don't know if it did anything. I just know the car was, like, really, really tight, but I don't know if it was just from me overdriving it, or if it was actually from the damage. Somehow got through, I guess, kind of 2 wrecks tonight, both involving Zach and I guess netcode from what it sounded like in both incidents. But um, scaved away, had a good run, which is exactly what I needed. Obviously, like you said, I moved on to the next round, which is super exciting. I'm really pumped. I think if I remember the next round, it's Vegas and another track I think that favors me pretty. Oh, and like New Hampshire or something like that. So, um, 2 tracks I think I feel like I'm good at. So like I'm hoping that I can also have 2 strong showings for the next 2 weeks, then move on to the final round. But obviously that's a big ask with no bonus points coming to these races.
Yeah, Cedric, you did a fantastic job getting through that incident there that brought out that last caution with like 6 or 7 laps to go. But before that caution came out and the two leaders got into their little situation, were you guys still trying maybe saving a little bit more tires to try to catch them, or was their pace just too much for you guys to be able to catch there at the end?
Yeah, like their pace was pretty massive. I mean, we saw when Zach and I had fresh tires, like we saw both of them, especially Vinny, just kind of march back up with old tires. So I think their long run pace was just better than ours overall. I felt like I think it's probably just because Zach had to battle with a couple of people, including like Gavin and stuff like that throughout that last long run. But I felt like I was maybe slightly faster than him at the end. I could have maybe gone third. Uh, in the end, I guess where everybody was running, I felt pretty confident that I was going to move on to the next round, and so I didn't. There was no pressure to try and pass my teammate there. But I don't think we would have gone, a shot at anything if the caution didn't come out.
I mean, Cedric, like you said, New Hampshire, Las Vegas, next round is. Are you feeling confident in both races, or is there one that you're more so concerned than the other?
Uh, I mean, I'm confident as long as it can go long, like long runs and stuff like that. I feel really, really good about it. Obviously, I'm worried about New Hampshire being kind of a short track. I think that you know we've seen a lot of wrecks of short tracks this season. Um, and Vegas, I mean, you guys know that that's where I survive right there. Like that's where I get my wins at. So really pumped to have that race in that round, and I'm hoping that I can maybe come home with a win. Obviously, it being a very drafty track and all that stuff, it might be a little more difficult. Um, but yeah, I think I might honestly need a win to move on. So I think Vegas is probably where it's going to come out.
Well, Cedric, congratulations on pointing your way through and making it to the round of 11. Before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shoutouts.
I appreciate it, man. Huge shout out to Snowy Desert Racing. We're 3 cars moving on to the next round, so that's huge. I'm sure Norris is watching the stream right now. He got stuck at work, I think, for longer than normal tonight. So hopefully we see him back on track next week. Huge shout out to everybody that is watching, to the drivers that showed up tonight, and to you guys for doing everything that you guys do, and I guess the admin team as well.
Well, thank you for giving us such a great show to call. That is going to be your third place finisher here tonight of Cedric Hunter, who also will be moving on to the round of 11. Cedric, enjoy it and good luck at New Hampshire next week.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
And now we move from our top 3. We go all the way down to 15th position to the 27 of Jarrett Talmadge, because the 27 somehow found the way there late, and he will be the last driver to qualify to the next round. Unofficially, we've got Jarrett Talmadge with us by over 3 points, and it was because of the stage finish. Talmadge is moving on to the next round. Jared, it's Sam and Richard up in the booth. We talked to you a few weeks ago when you were in victory lane at Daytona. Now you're moving on to the round of 11. How are you feeling after that chaotic race you had this evening?
Yeah, I mean it's a great feeling to be moving on. Had a really tough race after that caution with the strategy there, and thought we were kind of out of it. I didn't even know I had a chance to make it.
Well, I mean, you made it. You're 11th place, round two. Anything you're looking forward to when it comes to New Hampshire and Las Vegas for the next 2 weeks?
Um, New Hampshire probably just trying to get us all finished. Not my best track. Vegas is I feel like Vegas is always a track that's open to kind of anybody with the way it races. So I guess we'll see when we get there.
And Jared, I know excitement that you moved on to the next round, but we do have to ask the question: what happened there late, heading down into turn number 3? We saw yourself and teammate Shane Terrian getting mixed up. What happened from your point of view there?
It was a really aggressive block, honestly, on a teammate for 11th place, in my opinion, that late in a race. Really racing for nothing at that point. He really didn't have a shot to make it, and I didn't even think I did. It was aggressive block. I got onto the apron, and I thought he was going to go back up and not run the entire white line, and well, he didn't, and we came together. I hate that that happened. You never want to wreck a teammate in anything. Um, but just stupid fighting for 11th, basically.
It's highly unfortunate, but Jared, you're the one who's moving on to the next round. Congratulations on being able to move on to the next round for yourself. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout-outs.
Yeah, shout out to you guys for putting on the broadcast, everyone who runs the league. Shout out to Justin Forbes for the paint. And yeah.
That will be the 27 of Jarrett Talmadge coming away, finishing 15th, and it was good enough to get him to the next round. He will be the 11th driver to make it in. Congratulations, Jarrett. Enjoy it, and good luck next week in New Hampshire.
Thank you.
As that will finish up our interviews, and Jarrett Talmadge qualifying into the next round unofficially. We'll see how things are deemed between the teammates getting involved with one another as the admins will look at it. But winner here tonight unofficially will go to the 88 of Drew Jua, who just put on probably the best performance there in those final 4 laps to just pull away and never look back, as Gavin Rogers will take second. Going to be seeing Cedric Hunter third, Nick Crawford fourth, Larry Yingling fifth, 6 is Ollie Fonseca. Ollie, what a run for that 24. That was just go, go, go all night, and rewarded with a top 10 finish. Joshua Kanata coming away 7th, as well as in 8th. We find Ryan Kelly. Ken Campbell just missing out from moving on to the next round by 3 points, but he'll take 9th here tonight. And teammate from Storm Motorsports, he'll finish 10th, is Chris Stitz. I mean, Richard, what a race we had here tonight. Late caution of leaders taking each other out. And ultimately, it was Drew Jua outside looking in, took the strategy call, and victory lane called his name.
Yeah, Drew Jua, phenomenal race, an even better finish, taking the win and punching round 2 in the books for him. So moving on, he will go. I think one of the drivers that I'm impressed with tonight, like we were talking about all night really, was Samuel Garcia finishing 12th tonight. Fantastic run by him. And a few drivers just unfortunate to see this far back. James Scioli, our pole sitter, getting involved in that wreck with Vincent Sora back there in like 21st. So a very interesting night, was very exciting for the most part. I mean, we had some long green flag runs, and then that last wreck with like 8 laps to go between the leaders really shook things up and made it even more exciting for a fantastic finish to the race here at Texas.
It certainly did. Also want to give kudos to Justin Malarkey coming away 13th there tonight, and Christopher Wade 14th. That they'd love to see that they were able to get some decent finishes, even being around the big one that happened halfway through this race. A lot of ups and downs and unknowns striking all over the place here this evening on who is moving on to the next round. Well, officially the points are in, and the 11 drivers moving on in the playoffs: Gavin Rogers, James Scioli, Nick Crawford, Larry Yingling, Drew Jua, Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, Vincent Sora, John Forbes, Ryan Kelly, and the final spot, we got to talk to him, Jarrett Talmadge, meaning the 5 drivers eliminated from the playoffs: Ken Campbell, Shane Terrian, Cody Reed, Danny Cochran, and sadly he was not able to start here tonight. Brian McCann are out of the playoffs. We got our 11th set, Richard, and we're not going to an easy track. New Hampshire is next. It's gonna be a massive one next week.
Yeah, New Hampshire next, and that's, a track that I've got to win on. It is a very fun track to drive, actually, and there's going to be a lot more fireworks, I think, there. Not as fast, but there's going to be a lot of door-to-door racing, a lot of people getting into each other in New Hampshire. But, gotta say, a huge kudos to Cody Reed winning the opening race of the season and then deciding to go full-time. It's unfortunate for him to get into the wreck that he did and decided to call it a night, but his playoff chances cut short after deciding to go full-time from that first race win of the season.
Yeah, a lot of other drivers were hoping to move on to the next round, but it just shows the caliber of the WSSR. Honestly, there were a lot, almost everyone you could say, we expected at some moment this season that they were going to make it to the round of 11. It only gets tougher on who can make the round of 6 and be part of that final championship round. But we first have to go through the round of 11. New Hampshire, Las Vegas, that will be our next round of tracks that we head to, but we also have a brand new season upon us. Monday night, the ISRC Truck Series just had their Daytona race, and guess what? The driver who just qualified to the next round, he won that, Jared Talmadge, trying to carry over more and more momentum for himself as the ISRC Truck Series head to Homestead for race number 2 of their season. Next week for the WSSR, we're back for New Hampshire, the flat 1 mile oval. Gonna give us a great show that you don't want to miss. We also want to give a shout out and thank you to the major sponsors of the WSSR Cup Series, Trophy Smack, as well as GTR Simulators. I want to say thank you to GTR Simulators. If you go over to their website, gtrsimulators.com, and use the promo code WSSR for 10% off. If you go to, again, gtrsimulators.com, experience pro-level racing from home with their GTA Compact V2 Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber equipment. You can find yourself feeling like you're in the actual car while racing on the sim. Again, when purchasing from GTR Simulators, use the promo code WSSR. Well, all these drivers in the WSSR are racing for a championship, and they're racing for a trophy. That trophy is provided by Trophy Smack. Go check out their wide range of selections from championship belts, rings, trophies, and more at trophysmack.com. If you want to find yourself with a metal image as well, pick your own image, put it on a wall smack, and you can have your own design. Put it on the wall or put it on a desk. They've got stands as well to help you out. If you put it on the wall, they have a wall-mounted magnet safe system that allows you to put their wall smack safely on your wall and also safely remove it. Go check out trophysmack.com, and when purchasing any of their wide range of selections, custom and pre-made, use the promo code WSSR SMACK for 10% off. Thank you again to everyone joining up with us. I know that this is a recording and it wasn't live. We appreciate those that were patient enough to rewatch this broadcast. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Richard Wolsifer, and for also Robert Moyer Jr. and everyone else from Freaky Fats Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us on your Wednesday evening. We cannot wait to see these drivers back out on track for a new round. The round of 11 calls for New Hampshire next week. But if you can't wait until then, we'll see you Monday for the ISRC Larry Art Productions Truck Series as race number 2 goes to the fun and unknowing New Hampshire. For those drivers, you don't want to miss it. Whenever Homestead is the second race of the season, it always puts on a show. Don't want to miss it. Cannot wait for it. We will see you on our next Freaky Fast broadcast.